If you are ever wondering the drawing process from taking something like this and going to something like this, stick around, I'll show you how to do it. Alright, so the few things you're going to need is a picture of somebody, Photoshop, and Illustrator. From there, it's limitless. Alright, let's get right into this, my friend. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is pull up my Tic Toc. I've been drawing a lot of my Tic Toc followers, so if you're on Tic Toc, go find Morphographer and follow me, and then just like and comment in some of the videos. This is a gentleman that I've been following for a while. I think he's got a really cool fedora hat, so I'm going to pick this photo, just a screen grab from the iPhone there, and then I'm going to just airdrop it over the computer, load it into Photoshop here, and I'm going to do a quick trace. Now I know a lot of people will talk about tracing versus sketching. There's a couple reasons I do like to do a quick trace. One, sometimes there's a very unique feature on somebody, and just doing a quick trace on them is just a simple, easy way to kind of get it in your head how that's going to look on pen and paper. So as I'm doodling here, I'm starting to do the sketch process now. I drop the opacity of the trace down very, very low, and you'll see in a minute I'm going to get rid of the trace lines. There's just certain things I just want to make sure that I get right as the fedora specifically on this, and also the really thinness of his glasses is another thing that I was kind of thinking about how I wanted that to look, and those were the big things that I wanted to get, plus his beard. And that was the big reason I did the trace. Alright, so as I'm drawing this, I'm really thinking about light and shadow, not just so much hard lines. And so trying to pick where the light is coming from is really going to make the difference between just like a cartoon character and a sketch. So ultimately I decided to have the sun in the sky on the right hand side of his hat here, and now you'll see me come in and make some darker lines on the left hand side of his face where the natural shadowing is going to be, and then I'm just going to make thinner lines on the left hand side, and everything's just going to correlate through there. Hey, if you like content like this, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. The big thing that is going through my head as I'm drawing this is I'm not sure how I want his beard to fully end up and fully look as a cartoon character when I take it from the sketch level into Illustrator here. And so you'll see me kind of play with his beard more and more, and his mouth more and more. I want it to look once we get there. There's a couple things I'm satisfied with, there's a couple things that I'm not. I love that in the sketch level that I can make the hair just straight lines and whatnot, but I know I'm going to run into issues with that later on in Illustrator when I go to color it. So now I'm just doing some cross hatching, putting in some shadows, stuff of that nature, just kind of fun finishing details to a sketch. Let's delete the sun. Let's blow this up a little bit. Let's just double check, look at a few things, look for little minor details that I might be missing. The crow's feet on his eyes smile so drastically big, and I love it. Alright, so I'm satisfied with this sketch. Let's drop it into Illustrator here and go for that. Alright, here we go. Alright, let's size it properly so we can illustrate it. So there's about a million different ways to work in Illustrator here, and you're going to see I did not pick a way to start how I really wanted this. I decided I was going to go with the pen tool at first and do all these solid lines and everything and go with a real solid cartooning. Like, I was loving the fedora. And then once I got down into the glasses here and I was looking at the thinness of the lines of the glasses, that was one thing that was very important to me that the weight of the lines were not thick. So you're going to see this here in just a second. I'm about to scrap the whole thing and start over. I'm going to set up the pressure on the pen, and I'm going to come back in here and redraw. I'm just starting to get to the point where I'm realizing this beard is not going to work out the way that I want to do it in Illustrator, the way that I started. So always remember that drawing or sketching or anything that you're doing, it's a process. It takes time. There's no right or wrong way. Yeah, see, I set up the pen and now I can get different weights and lines and kind of do some other things here. Yeah, you're gonna see there it is, scrapping it all, starting it over. There we go. Yeah, see, look at these lines. They're so much better just because the weight of them can be different than the eyes. The fun little bars that are on his glasses. Now, I'm not so much really trying to get the exact lines on the first try. What I want to do is I want to get rough lines with this sketch that I'm doing with the Illustrator lines, and then I want to come back through and clean those up later. You'll get the full scope of that here in just a minute. Well, let's go back and redo his fedora. I can put weighted lines on the more shadowy sides. That way I kind of put some emphasis on where the light's coming from, where the shadow's coming from. Try to make some judgment call on how I want the beard to look here for a cartoon look. And I was thinking, let's just do some wavy lines and then just color them in solid and then shade them a little bit later and see how that looks. And so you'll see here, just kind of following the jawline and trying to do some wavy line art. And this is the part that I was talking about earlier. How do I want to do the beard? And so you'll see, I'm about to make a drastic decision here going, I don't want to do that. I'm going to have the beard blend in with the mouth because I think that just looks classier here. And that is not necessarily a drastic enough feature on my friend here that I care so much emphasizing. The big things that I do want to emphasize is his hat, make sure that his beard color is right, and also his smiling eyes, because that's one reason I think a lot of people follow him, is he's just got a very charismatic, lovable smile. Generally wearing this fedora and all of this stuff. It's great. And then now what you're seeing is I'm just taking these lines, I'm just gonna place them so they look really like they kind of match and flow. And that's where we're at. Nothing too drastic or neat. And the other thing too is I want to connect lines, so when I take it back into Illustrator, I don't have to worry too much about erasing colors when I put the color underneath it. And now we're back into Photoshop and we're going to color it. Alright, here we go. This is where it's going to get fun. I'm just going to get a sample color from his face, drop it in. Obviously I didn't close up the lines as well as I wanted to. There it is, there's the gap. We're going to close it up really quick. I'm going to pick a new beard color for him. We're going to do it. Also didn't close up his mouth. I'm going to come back and fix that here in a minute. Still thinking about light colors. What do we want darker? What do we want lighter? How do we want this to look? All right. Several different layers is what we're using here. And this is how we're going to be able to color the whites in his eyes, the brown in his eyes. I'm also going to put flecks of green in here at the very end. That was the decision that I made here. And so you can see I can erase from that bottom layer where the color should not be. With some forethought, I know that I'm going to color the lips here in a minute on another layer below this layer. So that's what we're going to do. Alright, just making sure everything is all hunky-dory, and let's pick some colors and start coloring the lips. Obviously I'm on the wrong layer, trying to get that down to the right layer. There we go. Alright. Now just so you're aware, from start to finish with this project, from picking the photo to getting him doodled all the way over, it took me an hour and a half. So just remember, if you've got stuff you got to do, get your stuff done first before you really start doodling, because it is a chunk of time. Alright, so I'm pretty satisfied with this base layer here. Maybe a couple little things I'm going to touch up behind him. That way everything looks solid when I create a base layer PNG here of him. There we go. Now I'm going to merge them all together, and I'm going to make 3 different layers. And I'm going to go down and I'm going to adjust the brightness and contrast on 2 different layers. One's going to be a shadow layer, and one is going to be a highlight layer. Then what we're going to do is we're going to do layer masking and just brush in where I want the highlights and the shadows to be. Also, if you want texture to the hat, that's where you can add it with shadows and highlights here. I also have a fun little trick here. As we go through the beard, I'm just going to start adding little beard droplets all the way through. That way we can see, going to get lighter and lighter as we go. Some highlights in the eyes, under his eye. This is the fun part with the glasses. This is where we can add that effect to where it makes it really look like glasses with some shine and sheen, and then of course the eyes. Just add highlights where it seems very natural, where you've decided that's where the light's coming from to the hat. I'm going to make a second highlight layer, and I'm going to add Gaussian blur to it. Raise and lower the opacity so it looks right, so there's a little bit of a feathering to the light instead of a harshness that I've drawn onto that layer mask. Now I'm going to jump over to the shadow side of things, and I'm going to start shading. And again, it's just drawing on the mask layer, so we're not even destroying any of this image or the colors of the bases of it. So if we need to make any drastic changes, we definitely can. Want to add shadow with the lights falling off of his face, maybe underneath the rim of the glasses there. Next we'll get the shadow of the nose. This is really important. This creates so much depth in a shot, in a picture. Right underneath the brim of the hat, makes it seem a lot more alive. Going to add some more salt and pepper into his beard here. Going to add more dark into the darker areas. Going to shade the tongue. Going to add some more highlights where I think highlights need to be added. Going to add some Gaussian blur. Make some quick changes because I feel like I didn't really do justice for the highlights. And Gaussian blur. Feathering effects. I'm going to come in, I'm going to add some specks of green to his eyes. It's really going to make it pop. Don't want to go overboard with it, just enough. We're going to add some details to the lips. Highlights and shadows. And we should be good as gold here. Clean up the teeth while we're at it. And voila, there you go. That's how you go from start to finish. That's the content I have for you today. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like it. If you know somebody that wants to be drawn or you want to be drawn yourself, let me know in the comments below. If you like this sort of stuff, make sure to check out the other videos.